Do you want to make your games bigger? Do you want to take them on the road to a different audience? Join us as we discuss taking your games on the road to the con.
To the con!
Con!
Hi, and welcome to Second Rate DMs. I'm Scott.
And I'm Bree.
And today we're going to talk about running convention games, more about the prep and the writing and those kinds of things. But overall, the next few months, we're going to put together a series here on our channel that's going to talk about getting into the scene. How do you do that? How do you prepare for these games? And hopefully we can maybe even put some of that stuff online for you guys to watch.
If this is your first time here with us at Second Rate DMs, take a chance to like and subscribe below for more content on our channel as we give out DM tips and tricks.
Reviews and news.
Reviews and news.
That's right. So let's get into it, right? So why are we talking about this? Well, if you guys know anything about us, if you watched our very, very first video, we actually come from another group that's called the MU Skulls. And the MU Skulls goes around and we focus mostly on horror and drama type games.
And Call of Cthulhu, my favorite tabletop system.
That's right. Mostly Call of Cthulhu, but we've got some folks that run Savage Worlds, run Outbreak, Dungeons and Dragons, all kinds of different things. But it's always got that horror tinge to it.
We're just a group of like-minded people who really like the horror genre of tabletop games. And we are also mostly Midwest located. We're Hoosiers. So our bread and butter for the two of us really is Gencon. So what we're going to be focusing on is how we got into running games at Gencon, and the process and what it looks like to host an event for Gencon, what that process looks like, not only to submit your event for Gencon, but then also the prep that comes into that event, and then running that game for a con, because there are differences to running a home game to running a con game.
So, I mean, there are tons of channels out there that talk about, how to run games and how to run specific games, especially right now with Dungeons and Dragons being so popular. But there's not a lot that talks about the con, and the con is a very specific thing, because however you feel about paid GMing, a convention is paid GMing. We are going to be charging folks to come out and play in our games, and so we treat that as a service, and the amount of preparation that we put into that is a little bit different than our friends at home, who are going to sit here and eat, Werther's and, drink beer and whatnot. So,
well, and you can set the price. Not all people make money off of these.
That's
right. But you also don't want to go broke, because again, that prep, you prep differently for it.
So what is a convention anyway? So there are several different conventions that pretty popular out there. You've got your comic cons, where basically there's a bunch of people that come together and they do comics. You've got toy cons, you've got PAX, which is mostly video games, but now they have a PAX Unplugged that focuses on board games as well. You have Gen Con, you have Dragon Con, which I think is mostly focused on anime. You got a lot of anime conventions out there. But we're really talking about Gen Con and gaming conventions. And a gaming convention is everything that you can't imagine until you step foot into a convention center, a really big gaming convention.
Yeah, and I mean, so really there's the different parts of a convention. You have places where there's play testing going on, there's game libraries, there are planned events, which is mostly what we're going to be discussing in this video, is how to set up one of those events and how to host one of those events. You have vendor halls where everything you can imagine is being sold.
Much stuff.
All of the cosplay and things to look at. There's just so much to do and look at conventions, and it's all in one place where you're not going to sleep. You're going to be walking miles and miles. My God, please bring orthopedic shoes. And it's a fantastic experience. Of like-minded people all in one place, just there for a shared love of gaming, and it is a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible. There are people that we really don't even talk to through most of the year, but we still consider them friends. We see them at Gen Con, and we'll talk to them. There's this one guy, shout out to Patrick. I met him once outside of was Georgia Street, just the bar out there. We got to talk and had a good conversation, and we're still friends, And it's crazy. You'll be just walking in the middle of the night, and there'll be people just sleeping over there, or playing
werewolf,
or playing some random game underneath some stairs. Gen Con is just a really unique experience.
So you can go online, you can Google all of these conventions, but there are a few things that you'll really want to pay attention to when you start looking at them. Obviously, what type of convention it is. And you can always see about how many people go to them to know, does it sell out? And then you'll want to look at the key dates for the convention. Those are always really important because there are a few things that happen for each convention. Every convention is going to have an event registration, or event submission, which is the time that if you're wanting to host an event, that you'll have to say what the event is and submit those events so that they can put together their event calendar for later. Then there'll be badge registration that will come up for that con, which is just to say, yes, I'm attending. And that's key, especially if you have a con that's going to sell out. Gen Con sold out.
Last 2 years?
The last 2 years, which was very historic when it happened and everyone kind of started freaking out. So, it's important to know when badge registration is and to know if that con has sold out or traditionally does sell out so that you can get your badge early. And then, obviously, the housing block. You'll need to know about housing, where you're going to be staying, when that housing block opens, and again, how limited is housing. Gen Con, that's always a sore subject with people, but you'll want to know that. And then, like I said, there's event submission and then there's event registration, which is when all those events have been submitted, they open up for ticket sales for those events. Now, when you go to a con, you don't want to overbook yourself because you want to have time to see everything, but it's always important to know what events you do want to go to make sure you get registered for those events because a lot of them do sell out, like ours, just saying. Ours have sold out traditionally every year, and it's something that we're pretty proud of.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
so make sure you know when that event registration is, so that you can make your wish lists or whatever process that con uses. So get your events registered for, so that you get to them, and then obviously what dates the con is.
Yeah, Gen Con does have a wish list system that they basically they release what's going on, so you can kind of peruse it about a week ahead of time, and then the magical thing happens on a Sunday, where you have your wish submission, your wish list, and then there's a button that eventually will highlight, and then everybody in the world tries to click it as fast as they can, and then
you get a number.
You get queued. Yeah, you put in the queue, and then you may or may not kind of get what you want. It sucks when you don't get what you want, but I think it's the fairest possible thing that they kind of figured out to do with it. So,
yeah.
I mean, what else can they do?
Right. So just research how whatever con you're going to works. Make sure that you know it well. And then I've heard people that just wander in, just buy a badge for one day and go in and have a great time wandering around doing nothing. Maybe you don't research it at all and still have a great time. Good for you if that's how it works. I mean, more power to you. Or just don't be that guy that ghosts and just without a badge and goes and roams the hallways. And please don't do that. But we're not going to have that discussion here. Let's go to the forums and battle that one out. But either way, we're here to talk about specifically that first part that I talked about, and that's the event submission. And if you are interested in breaking into the cons and actually hosting your own events and having people come and play a game at the con, and it's your game. And that is really an amazing experience, if you ask me. Honestly, the way that I got into it is there are some perks to doing that. Yeah. You can get free badges to the cons. You can get your housing paid for at the con. You can make money doing it. This, paid GMing. And so there are some perks to doing it. And there's a draw to doing it. But it's really a unique experience. And we kind of want to walk you through how to do that. Yeah. For us, what we've generally stuck to with MU Skulls is Cthulhu or horror-based tabletop games, and then we've started running the LARP, a 50-person LARP that's loosely based on the rules of Cthulhu Live First Edition.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Right. Make it up as we go each year.
Right. And so, like I said, the first thing that I do is every year Gen Con puts out a new event host policy, and I download that policy and I make sure that nothing has changed in it that would drastically affect our games. Those include things like they have a very strict policy on weapons. Anything that looks like a weapon, even if it's got an orange tip on it, it's a no-go for Gen Con. You can't bring it in there, you can't have it, can't be costume, prop, anything like that. It has to very clearly not look weaponized. You can't have it.
It's true.
So, we do costumes in our LARP, so that's that's something to be aware of, that that you can't have it there. And even something that they're very specific about in their event host policy is that once you're given a room assignment, you have to be very specific in how you want the room set up. And when you go in there, the way that room is set up is the way that it's set up. And if you change the setup of that room and then a staff member of Gen Con comes by and sees that room has been changed, you can forfeit your event entirely. They can kick you out of the room, and that is that. And your players are who suffer for that because they paid for that event. And your event ends immediately. It's terminated. And also everyone that's in there, whether it's in past events that we've done, we've had people come in as performers for our event. They have to be ticketed for that event, and they have to have a badge for Gen Con and be ticketed for that event. Now, whether you comp their ticket or not, that's totally up to you. But if they don't have a badge for Gen Con and a ticket for that event, and somebody from the staff of Gen Con comes in and sees that they don't have those things, again, your event is terminated and you're kicked out of that room. And again, it's your players who suffer. So it is key that when you set out to start your event planning, read every word of that event host policy. That is number one. First thing that you do. Yes, it is your Bible. Before you even begin to start the 6-step process of planning, system, anything, you want to read front to back, what are the parameters of what I can even think about doing for my event. So
you don't want to get some idea in your head that involves. I know a couple years ago we thought about doing a cowboy thing with Call of Cthulhu, and I think we'll still do it eventually.
But it's a shootout. There would be a shootout.
There would be shootouts involved. So the only way that we could get around that, and I didn't know that, but she's the one that really gets into the policy. And my idea was to have like cap guns and those kinds of things.
That's a no-go.
Yeah, so
non-starter.
Had to change it to Nerf guns, which is a little less lame, but still you get to shoot people, so that's always fun too, right? But that is really important. And right now, event registration is going on at Gen Con. That's kind of what we're talking about. It is this past weekend. We sat down and we did what we're talking about right now. We sat down, we went over the new policy, got together and, started to write some things out, feel some things that's going to be coming up for the game. Because you want to generate as much excitement as you can for your game well before Gen Con even comes up. SOD is proud to announce our brand new sponsor, Scabard RPG Campaign Manager, and it's exactly that. You can go there and keep track of all of your NPCs, your items, your maps, all of these things that you and your players can both access. If that's something that you need to do to kind of keep things in order, I know I do. I've been using it for years. You can find it down in the link below. If you decide that you like the premium features that are there, if you use our link within the first 3 hours, you get a 20% discount. Thanks. So yeah, make sure that you read really into your con. You do a little bit of exploration, find some forums, find some Reddit, and do that event submission, and you want to do it properly because like I said, you're trying to garner that attention, which we will talk about as we go on throughout this video series. Yeah.
So really, we were going to talk about event submission, but it's just knowing your cons. So that's really all we have for this video as far as cons. But we're going to do other videos after this that are going to be more on our event. We really don't want to put it with this
spoiler
video.
Free.
Right, spoiler free. Nice try for our veteran con goers, for our LARP. We know you guys come back, and we're not giving anything away. We're watching you. But the rest of these are going to be more specific to our LARP and what we do for Gen Con, for our LARP submission. And that may not help any of you for submitting your events because each con is different. And it's really just going to come down to reading those specific event host policies. If you have any questions, though, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below. We've done this for several years now, and maybe we can try to help guide you through. 2011, yeah, somewhere around there. So 12, somewhere around 11, there. Yeah. But drop them in the comment section below. If we don't know the answer, we'll try to reach out to some of our other fellow GMs from cons and try to help guide you through the process. And we'd be more than happy to do that. But it's so con specific. It's very hard to just give general advice.
Yeah, especially when you're starting out, because this part is that event submission, and it is con specific. So at this stage of the game, we're just putting together our concept, getting that first step, that ideology, putting it together, and kind of brainstorming enough to get a summary to submit. And that's where you should be pretty much at this point yourself. So as always, if you guys like this channel, if you like these type of videos, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, we'll see you next week. See you later.